Welcome to Storytimer at Large. Patrice Lynette Calvin. Patrice Lynette Calvin was born in 1955. She attended Julian High School in Dayton. I believe that was a Catholic school there in Dayton, but I think it has since combined with another Catholic school and has a different name now. In 1973, Patrice was 18, and she lived at 426 Groveland Avenue in Dayton. On Thursday, July 12, 1973, Patrice was in a tavern at 1726 West 5th Street. It was 4:30 in the morning. Patrice was sitting on the jukebox waiting for her boyfriend, who was an employee of the tavern. It was closing time. Her boyfriend might have been helping to clean up, turning the chairs and bar stools upside down on the tables. Maybe he was washing dishes, taking out the trash, or mopping. Patrice was waiting for him and sitting on the jukebox when she was shot in the head with a .38 caliber weapon. This was first investigated and reported in the papers as a homicide. It was said to be the 60th homicide in Dayton that year. But the man who shot her managed to convince the authorities that this was an accident. The first reports of her death said this: police said the victim was sitting on top of the jukebox waiting for her boyfriend, an employee, when the suspect came up to the victim and shot her in the head. The man who shot her said he was closing up and had a .38 caliber weapon with him that he always carried when he took the cash away at the end of the night for protection. He said that he bent over to turn off the jukebox as the plug was near the floor. He said he dropped the gun and it accidentally discharged and the bullet hit Patrice in the head. If he was bending over and the gun discharged, what are the odds that it would hit her in the head as she's sitting on the top of the jukebox? There's no report of an autopsy that I could find. There's no reporting in the papers about the trajectory of the bullet. There's not a word about whether Patrice had powder burns on her face. There's no reporting about any details that might incriminate this man. No charges were filed against this man. He didn't face murder charges or even manslaughter charges. We have no idea who he was. His name was not reported in the newspapers. Patrice Calvin was a young black woman. We don't know the race of the man who shot her and got away with it. We can probably guess that he was white. We can probably guess that Patrice's boyfriend was a young black man. Who would the police listen to? The vast majority of police officers were also white males then. 1726 West 5th Street is a vacant lot now. I was hoping that the building was still there. I was hoping that investigators could go and look at the ceiling and walls and maybe determine the trajectory of the bullet. First, they would have to open a homicide investigation because this is considered an accidental death. And sadly, opening a homicide investigation into Patrice Calvin's death might never happen. There are already so many cold cases also waiting for solutions. I thought about this case quite a bit, and what I was thinking is it doesn't seem like an accident at all. I think this man was miffed at Patrice for sitting on the jukebox. I think maybe she was sitting up there as sweeping and mopping was happening, to keep out of the way. All of the tables and chairs probably had bar stools and chairs on them, so that you can't really sit on a table. And maybe she didn't want to wait outside. I don't know. But maybe he was miffed that she was sitting on the jukebox and came over and told her to get off. And maybe she said something funny, or maybe she didn't say anything at all. Maybe he just didn't like the looks of her sitting there on that jukebox. It doesn't matter. She's not responsible for her own murder. Only the murderer is responsible. This case frustrates me a tremendous amount because in order to solve this case, it would first have to be re-evaluated as a murder. And that might never happen. But it does illustrate the state of things in the United States in 1973 in terms of how awful racism was, how unfair things were, and just the injustice, the complete injustice of this. Patrice Lynette Calvin was only 18, just a kid. She should have had a long life. She and her boyfriend should have been allowed to be together and see where this romance was headed. Those of us who have been 18 and grown up know about many of the experiences that Patrice should have had. Traveling to new places, meeting new people, starting a job, and learning and growing were all denied to Patrice. Patrice's funeral took place at the Bowman Funeral Chapel North at 3223 Hoover Avenue. Father Edward F. Conlon officiated, and Patrice was buried at Calvary Cemetery. Rest in peace, Patrice.